Welcome to Please Me, the award-winning sexuality podcast bringing you bold conversations and big clit energy. I'm thrilled to announce that Please Me is the #1 ranked sexuality podcast in the USA and worldwide. And welcome to Season 6. I'm Eve, your host, on a journey from trauma to sexual liberation. Join me and my guests as we dive into conversations around orgasm equality, self-love, body positivity, and essential sex education. Let's reclaim pleasure and close the orgasm gap, one empowering conversation at a time. Last week's two-part episode of Please Me podcast featured the host of Shameless Care podcast for a deep dive into what everyone needs in their emergency sex bug-out bag, the must-haves for when things go wrong in the bedroom. We covered everything from STI testing and prevention to post-exposure medications like DoxyPEP, plus prescriptions that boost intimacy and blood flow for both men and women. Tune in for real talk on sexual wellness, connection, and preparation, because safe sex is hot sex. Huge thanks to everyone who's rated, reviewed, and shared Please Me. Because of you, we're now the #1 sexuality podcast in the world. Your support amplifies vital conversations about pleasure, healing, and sexual empowerment. Keep the momentum going, leave a review, share your favorite episode, and help us reach even more listeners. This week, I'm shouting out 5 amazing countries where Please Me hit #1: Denmark, Angola, Greece, Finland, and Belgium. Thank you for tuning in and turning up the volume on pleasure. I'm also raising funds for survivors of the devastating magnitude 6.9 earthquake in the Philippines. Please check the show notes for the donation link. Any support you can give is truly appreciated. Want to ask me a question for the Please Me podcast? Join the conversation on Patreon or subscribe to my Substack newsletter. Both communities give you access to exclusive content, updates, and the chance to have your questions featured on the show. Please Me is for mature audiences, so sit back, relax, and surrender to the pleasure of Please Me. ASN Lifestyle Magazine is your go-to source for sex-positive, sophisticated content, covering everything from the swinger lifestyle and adult entertainment to intimacy, wellness, and more. You can read every digital issue for free, and subscribers get access to exclusive content. See the show notes for the link to subscribe and check out their Instagram. I'm excited to share that I now have a monthly column in ASN called Big Clit Energy, a Please Me series. Don't miss it and subscribe today.
That's so common. So I think it's reasonable to say no and rain check it, and you actually gave like a time frame, which is super helpful and generous. You're not always even going to be able to do that. You could say later tonight, or let's try it this weekend, or something, right? But that's okay, as long as there is some sort of signaling that it will happen in the future, and I do care about you and I do want this. It's just not now, So I think that's fair.
Absolutely. Rain checking, and then it gives you both something to look forward to, right? Hello, and welcome to Please Me, the podcast that aims to destigmatize conversations about sex and sexual health by turning the sheets into our classroom. And welcome to Season 6. I am excited to bring on today Dr. Jen Kennedy. She is a sexologist and couples therapist and was a previous guest in Season 5, and which the date was May 28th, 2025. I suggest you go back and listen to that episode. It was excellent. And it was about how to talk to your partner about sexual trauma. And today we're going to be talking about different things, but she is also a podcaster on the Pleasure Project, Sex and Relationships. So check out her show as well. And with that being said, I want to welcome you to the show. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm good. Good to be back. Congratulations on all your success.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to talk to you today because we're changing the subject and we're going to be talking about sexual dissatisfaction. And I know that this is really common amongst, people that are maybe in hookups, and they don't necessarily get their needs met, but also in long-term relationships, right? And I want to know what the culprit of this could be. We want to talk about this so that we don't have these issues come up all of the time. And something that doesn't often come up in regards to sexual satisfaction is anxiety. How can anxiety cause us to have sexual dissatisfaction?
Yeah, dissatisfaction is so common, and it's common, like you said, in when we first hook up with people because we don't actually know their bodies or we don't know them very well. And so anxiety is running high, but it's also common in long-term relationships for very different reasons. We know the people better, but we might not know their bodies, or we might not be willing to bring forward what's going on. So anxiety can happen at any point in a relationship, and it's pretty pervasive. And the problem with anxiety is that once something happens, if dysfunction of some sort happens, it tends to be sort of lurking in the back of our minds, and then it's waiting to happen again, right? Once something doesn't go well, there's always this fear that it's going to happen again. And so that's unfortunately how anxiety works, is this like, oh no, I hope, like erectile dysfunction is notorious. Like if it didn't work out one time, then the next time that person is in any sort of situation that seems similar to the brain, it's like, oh no, the circumstances seem like they are lining up the same. I hope that same thing doesn't happen because it was embarrassing or frightening or humiliating or dreadful. And so anxiety just takes us out, and it can happen for women in very different ways, but yeah, it's a main culprit for dissatisfaction.
Yes, on both sides, right? Because anxiety can be, something that, say, a man would experience if he's had erectile dysfunction in the past and thinking about his performance, right? And so that can cause anxiety. But for a woman too, on the other side of that receiving end, right? Having to sort of mollify and make your partner feel better if something like that happens. And we often are, left with the short end of the stick in that situation, right? But there's so many different things that we can do to pleasure each other and our partners. And, an erect penis is not always the only way, right? And so do you want to just like jump in a little bit and give some people some ideas here? Because really, if that is you out there and you're experiencing anxiety for something like erectile dysfunction or performance in general, there are so many things that we can do to slow down and really enjoy the pleasure that sex brings to us, whether it be penetrative or not.
Yeah, anxiety, first of all, is not fixed, right? It's not a death sentence to your sex life, because anxiety can morph into something else. It's the opportunity to say, like, hey, we're in this together. Like, let's let it be something else. Like, we can laugh about it. We can try something different. We can just turn towards one another and be in this together and say, okay, so this isn't working. Let's have some humor about it, or let's have some softness about it and figure something else out. Right? Like, it doesn't have to be suddenly like we're broken or we're bad, or, like people go to the most catastrophic thinking, and they don't have to. If anxiety is spiking, like, ideally they're in a team mentality, and they can actually get through it by just finding some other pleasure zone, right? There's lots and lots of places around the body that feel incredibly good. And most of the time, if you kind of light up some of those other pleasure spots, then the body just does what it does. It gets back online. And typically, like, for example, an erection will return because it's automatic, right? But when you focus on it too much, that's when it like gets all shy and starts to go away because it's scared. So if you don't focus on it too much, if you don't highlight it, you're more likely to get back on track.
Yes, excellent points. We do definitely need to think about both partners and their, function and their comfort level throughout the whole experience, right? And if there's too much highlight on the function of something that hasn't gone well in the past, that may just continue to crop up over and over. So really trying to just focus on pleasure. The entire body is an erogenous zone. You can, find all of those incredible spots on your partner's body and focus on that. Focus on pleasuring each other, not necessarily on the function and the penetration all the time, because really that's kind of like the end game, right? But like before that even happens, we need a lot of stimulation as women. And I know that for a lot of women experience a lot of low desire, especially over time in relationships. I would love to talk a little bit about what would cause low desire in women, and not hormones, because we already know that, when your hormones dip, that's often a cause of, there's like a little bug flying around here. When your hormones dip, that could be a cause of, low libido, because, the hormones are just not giving those signals to the brain. Outside of that, what could also cause low desire in women?
Well, going back to our previous conversation, anxiety could cause it, but also there's a feedback loop. If things feel difficult, if you can read that your partner is anxious or frustrated or bored or basically just focusing on their own needs, none of those things lead me as a partner to want to like engage, right? It's like those things aren't inviting. This is relational. Sex is not just like this standalone rinse and repeat experience. It's something we're doing together. And if you're not engaging me, if you're not approaching me, if you're not considering my needs, I don't really want to do it. And so a lot of women who get named as low desire, but you have to consider they don't want the sex that they're having because it's not very good. So
Bingo.
if they had better sex, right? If they had partners that were also offering them a more fun, inviting, relational type engagement, and I'm not putting all the responsibility on the partner, but you know what I'm saying? It's then I think a lot more women would probably be considered, and I think most women actually are normal. I don't think they're truly low desire. I think they are relatively, relative to their partner who's coming at them, they appear to be low desire, but they aren't actually. I think they're probably in the normal range, which would be surprising to them and to their partners, but they are normal. Yeah, more times than not.
It's the approach has so much to do with whether you get turned on or not, right? And we're going to talk about that a little bit in our role play, but just talking about it just for a few minutes before we jumped on here. And I was saying, if your partner, comes up to you and, it depends on the approach, right? If you want some goods later, some cookies later, right? You're not going to just be nasty about it unless, that your partner is into dirty talk, you're going to ask in a nice way. You're going to try and be romantic, or you're going to try and, know your partner. In other words, have these conversations, try and understand what turns your partner on, and use that to invite into the bedroom later on, or even in the moment.
Well, and foreplay to that point starts hopefully not 5 or 10 minutes before you're hoping to score, right? It's hopefully starting hours, days before, right? That there's banter, that there's play, that whatever your version of that in your coupleship is. And again, it can be kinky, it can be, maybe it's nerdy, maybe it's soft, maybe it's, heady, whatever your version of that is happening with some runway, because the mind is so much more involved than just the body. When the mind is engaged, and when you're feeling like, ooh, I like how you're acting, I like what you're saying to me, I like how you're dressed, I like how you're behaving, I like how your physical body presents. But in longer term relationships, we've seen that day in, day out. So it's how you're oftentimes interacting with me that is turning me on, that is getting me primed, that is making me again return to you sexually. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. The brain is the biggest sex organ in our bodies, right? We often don't think about it, but yes, we have to get turned on here before we can get turned on down there, right? And that brings me to a question about stress, because, as our lives get more complicated, as, we get married and have children, or maybe not those things, but whatever it may be that could cause you to increase your stress levels, taking care of parents, or whatever that may be, these things can affect our sex lives. And so how do you help people to minimize their stress so that they can really, truly enjoy pleasure?
Yeah, I'm always looking, especially when I'm seeing couples, I'm like, what does your self-care look like? And what does your stress look like? I have them each check in about their, sort of their individual lives before we sort of jump into the relationship. Because if you're coming in with like an 8 or a 9 in terms of personal stress, we're not going to make very much headway on the couple's relationship goals of increasing your sex life, because you're stressed out and you're distracted over here about stuff that is running in your back brain. And it's priorities. And it literally, if your mind is distracted by all the stuff that's going on, that's going to take precedent, right? You can't actually care too much about, I mean, some people when they're stressed out want to have sex, but that's the minority. Most people, when they're really stressed out, are just trying to solve that stressor. They're just trying to cope. They're not really able to shift into a place of feeling playful and vulnerable and open and creative, which is the sexuality space. It just doesn't make sense. Like, that's just not, they don't have enough capacity for that. That feels like they're too guarded for that. And so, yeah, if your stress is high, I mean, you might be able to masturbate and feel a little bit of stress relief, but typically you're not as interested in partner play. So you have to check your stress level. And if it's high, then likely you're just not going to be as engaged, in longer term, like more erotic play.
Yes. And I love that you brought up self-care, because that is so essential for everybody in a relationship, the man and the woman, or two women or two men, however your relationships look. Yeah. It's important for you to take care of yourself and to think about, that self-care as part of your diminishing of your stress, right? Are you doing breathing exercises? Are you taking a nice warm bath at night and relaxing? Are you giving yourself that time to decompress for the day? And if you are constantly working till, on your bed with your computer until 11:30 p.m., your stress level is going to always be high, right? So you do need to take care of yourself. So I love that you brought that up. And I wanted to say something else about that.
Well, it's also hard too, because if you've got the computer in your bedroom, then it's hard to associate that. I don't love working in the bedroom. Like, I don't love it when people do that. I kind of like carving out the bedroom as your erotic space. You can work in the kitchen, you can work in the living room. Don't work in the bedroom. Exactly. Or if you are working in your room, do it during the day and like kick it out at night. If that's your comfort zone or whatever, put your computer in the other room. Mm-hmm. And build time for sex. Build time to connect on that level. And, that could be, carving out half an hour at the end of the day to come together and to like have a conversation and to, connect intimately with each other. Even, setting aside a date night, once a week or whatever that may be, to set time for that, because our lives do get super busy. Our lives do, end up taking all of the responsibilities take up a lot of the day. And oftentimes we don't make time to connect with our partners, which is sad but true, right? And so if, that for me, at least in the morning, my libido is like 0, because I have, a list of 20 things that I need to accomplish that day. And I know that about myself. Then what I need to do for myself is to let my partner know, hey, tonight, let's get together. I'm open from 9 to 10:30. Let's meet, in the bedroom and be ready, because I need some love, and however that may be, however that conversation may go. Everybody's different. Everyone has their own particular stressors. Some people may be, interested in having sex in the mornings. I know that for me, I'm not. And so knowing that about yourself and then asking for what you need. Yeah, as long as there's a time, and as long as hopefully there's some sort of way to meet in the middle, that you and your partner can figure out what that overlapping time is, and you can negotiate it, great. But there's got to be some time set aside. Yeah.
Absolutely. And like, for instance, for me, my partner does like to have sex in the mornings, and so maybe on the weekends when I don't have a list of 20 things in my brain and I have more time to sort of breathe, right? I can get up, I can take a shower, which wakes me up, and I can be in the mood. But first thing in the morning, when I'm rolling over and like my eyes are like stuck together from sleep and I'm like just groggy and that will never be the time that I'm into it. Like, and he knows that. And, we've had the conversation. So knowing yourself and being able to explain that and, and set some time aside is so, so essential. And that brings me to vulnerability, because these conversations can be super duper vulnerable, but vulnerability can bring us closer and can increase our pleasure. How can that increase our pleasure?
Yeah, vulnerability is huge. And also, it's a risk, of course, but it does make you feel closer. And that typically is going to be a segue, an on ramp to sex. Because when we feel closer to our partners, typically that leads to intimacy. And so being willing to offer up kind of what's going through your mind, what you need, what you want, you have to be aware of what that is, but then also being willing to verbalize that to your partner, having enough safety, having enough insight. Yeah. And then sharing that out and demonstrating that erotically too. That's vulnerable. Being able to like demonstrate it physically or sometimes asking for it. A lot of people find that very hard to do, but it's really incredibly powerful. And it's such a turn on to a partner when you can actually say, I want you in this way. It's like, wow, that feels amazing to hear that as a partner.
Yes. And I think that we, get in our minds about the fear about what is going to be said on the other side about what we want, right? But our partners want to please us for the most part, I would say. And if, that's not the case, then maybe you need to think about getting a new partner. Right? But, absolutely. If you know what you want and you know what you like and you're able to verbalize that, oftentimes your partner is going to get super turned on by that. It's not going to be a negative. So oftentimes we're thinking negatively, like, oh my gosh, what will they say, etc. But your partner's like, ooh, that sounds amazing. That sounds like fun. That sounds like something I'd love to engage in.
Yeah, we get caught up in like thinking sex is about getting off. Sex is this exchange that often is about this dance that we're doing. And articulating want and attention is so much at the crux of it. And so if we can, especially in heterosexual constructs, I find that so often the men really want to be wanted. And when they can feel that from the partner, not just a willingness to have sex, but a wanting. And wanting is demonstrated by articulating, this is what I would love to have happen, right? I'm not just showing up being like, okay, I'll give you what you want, but this is what I want you to do with me or to me. Wow, that is just, it is vulnerable to do that. And it is really titillating to the partner. Yeah.
Absolutely. So ladies listening out there, make sure that you are writing down those things that writing down those things that you want to happen in the bedroom, and then, passing along that little note to your partner, or maybe reading it to him and saying, what do you think about this? Doesn't this sound hot? Or do you think this is exciting? Because that's the only way that we can actually communicate with our wants and needs to our partner. Yes, the conversations start off as uncomfortable. Yes, they start off as awkward, but as you get used to having these conversations, they get easier and easier, and your sex life is only going to get better and better.
It's true.
So I want to talk about your self-guided course, because I know that you started a course and this is exciting. I'd love to hear about it. You want to just jump in and tell me a little bit more about it?
Sure. Yeah. So this started as a live 6-week intensive that I did. And it was a curriculum that I developed based on the in-person couples that I saw over and over again. It's the material that came up with couples who are struggling with low desire or just sex therapy in general. And so I sort of boiled it down, put it into this curriculum, taught it live, did it for about 2.5 years. So I went through maybe 9 or 10 cohorts. And then I said, okay, there's people that can't do this because they don't live in my state or can't afford it, or just the time doesn't work. So here's a course that I recorded that now women have access to. So it's geared towards women. It's really actually helpful for couples too, but most of the languaging is towards women. So it is called Pleasure Circle. It is now available at $3.99, which is just over the cost of a session with me. and it's 5 hours of video content. So I've done all the modules, and it's got 30 worksheets. So those are the exercises typically I would have guided you through if you were in the course. But you can do those with your partner. You can do them by yourself. You can take your time. It's a really rich, valuable course. So it's amazing. And it's a really good primer if you're going to go into therapy too. Just a lot of self-inquiry. So yeah, it's a great course, and it's available at pleasureproject.com.
I love that. And, oftentimes people want to, explore therapy, sex therapy, etc. But you're right. Absolutely. The cost is sometimes not something that they can do. So this is a great way to sort of focus on that area of your life and do it on your own and at your own pace as well, which I love. And I love all of the worksheets because you can, do them more than once. You can do them once, and then you can go back and, maybe if you've made some progress, you can do them again and sort of grow with it. So it's great to hear about this.
I feel like a lot of times too, we listen to podcasts or we listen to radio and we love like what they're saying, but then how does it apply? So that's why the work is kind of deepen the learning. And that's why people go to retreats too, I think, is to, do that deeper learning or do consulting and that type of thing. But it's like, how does this apply and how does this actually stick in terms of understanding the information and moving my life forward? So yeah, I think it's really helpful to understand, because so much of what we're talking about, in theory, people probably get it, but until you actually put it into practice, right? Until you go home, like you just said, make a list and then talk to your partner, right? Until you do something with this information, your life isn't going to change.
Yes, that's so true. So this is like a guidebook for doing, making those changes in your life, which I think is beautiful. I'm excited to take a look at that course, and it sounds amazing. So this leads us to our role play, and I'm excited. This season we're doing role plays about the quote unquote ick, right? What gives us that icky feeling in relationships, or maybe even when you're first meeting somebody. And so we decided that we are going to do a role play about our partners. I'm going to be the female partner, or the partner that is getting the ick. And you're going to be the male partner, or the partner that's giving the ick, by going in for, well, I won't say what it is yet. We can talk about it on the other side. So any questions before we get started?
Well, let's circle back to something that you already named that you don't like, which is morning sex.
Yes. Okay.
Let's say it's first thing in the morning, and I'm shoulder tapping. Right? Because we've all been there. We're just waking up and we're sort of like, just kind of like stretching, and then our partner's like, so I'm the partner that's kind of reaching in and going for like a, touchy feel, like let's go in, like let's do a grab, like I'm in the mood. I haven't given you any warm up. I haven't given you any conversation. There's no prep, and I'm just going for it.
Yeah, you're going in for the quick grab, right? That's how you described it before. So with that being said, we have our preface and action.
If you've ever wished sex could feel more connected, more intense, or honestly just more fun, you need to check out Shameless Care. They're a telemedicine company built entirely around sexual health, real doctors, real prescriptions, and products that actually work. Like Shameless Chemistry, their oxytocin plus tadalafil blend that deepens connection and boosts arousal. Or Shamelessly Aroused, a topical cream with the active ingredient found in men's ED medications, increasing blood flow exactly where it counts. Every order includes a short video introduction from your doctor, transparent pricing, and no subscriptions ever. Just real, sex-positive healthcare that delivers results. Because you're a Please Me listener, you can use coupon code PLEASEME for $15 off your order of any product on the Shameless Care website. Use the code PLEASEME, that's PLEASEME, at checkout to claim your $15 off. Again, that's shamelesscare.com, code PLEASEME. Because great sex shouldn't be complicated. It should be shameless. This episode is sponsored by Shameless Care.
Mm-hmm. Hey, good morning. Hey, babe. Like, right? I'm reaching in. I'm doing the grab. I'm going for the breast. And I'm getting the shrug. Come on. We got 20 minutes.
20 minutes. That is definitely not enough for me. You know I hate quickies.
Oh, come on. Like, we haven't done it in a couple days. Like, I got needs too.
Yes, I know you do. And so do I. But, right now I have like 20 things in my mind. I need to take a shower. I need to get things ready for the day. And I'm just not in the mood. And you know that. I'm just never in the mood in the mornings.
Well, what about you just give it to me? What about you just lay there and let me get off?
I am not taking one for the team. There's no way that I'm just going to lay here and let you like rape me basically when I've already said I'm not interested right now. However, I would be interested if you maybe gave me an hour and a half to get several things checked off my list. I can take a shower, be prepared, and be ready and in the right mindset. Is that something that you're open to or available for in an hour and a half?
Okay, that seems pretty fair. Yeah, I can wait an hour and a half.
Okay. All right. And anything that particularly that you want during our fun session today?
Standard sex seems pretty good. After you said rape, I kind of froze. Like, I mean, well, I love the rain check that you even offered that,
Yeah, I mean, but really, like if you are asking me to just lay in bed and let it just be for you, and you already know that I'm not turned on or into it, that does very much feel like rape on my end. Like, okay, I'm thinking about like the time, on my that's ticking and the things that I got to get accomplished right now. And so, no, I'm not okay with that. So, I mean, me saying it seems scary and creepy and maybe like shocking, but that is actually how I would feel if I were to give in to what you just asked me to do.
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate the no is a no, right? And I like that you did that. I like that you gave a hard no. I think that's important. So, yeah.
Yes. And no is a complete sentence. So people out there listening, no is a complete sentence. And I think that is the end of our role play. So I'm going to say, end scene. Yeah. We covered that pretty quickly. I think that was really good, but absolutely giving another time during the day that can be better for you, that you know that you can get into the mood, maybe later in the evening when you have more time, whatever it may be, really checking in with yourself and being true to your emotions and your feelings at the moment. Because if you aren't, you're never going to enjoy sex. And what I want for everybody is to have amazing freaking sex all the time. Yes.
Well, and you're not going to necessarily be on the same vibe at the same time. That's so common. Exactly. So I think it's reasonable to say no and rain check it. And you actually gave like a time frame, which is super helpful and generous. You're not always even going to be able to do that, but you could say maybe later tonight, or let's try it this weekend or something, right? But that's okay, as long as there is some sort of signaling that it will happen in the future. And I do care about you and I do want this. It's just not now, So I think that's fair.
Absolutely. Rain checking. And then it gives you both something to look forward to, right? And when you look forward to something, that's sort of foreplay, right? That's just building on that energy so that when you do come together, you're ready and you can really explore and have a good time.
Yep.
Okay, so I want to make sure that my listeners can find you. Where can we find you?
Sure. You can find me at pleasureproject.com. And there's podcasts, There's my podcast is linked. The course is linked. We've got articles, toys, merchandise, all that stuff's there.
Perfect. And then your self-guided course, where can we find that? Same thing on that same website?
Yep. The course is linked as well on the website.
Fantastic. Okay, well, great. I'm so excited to have you back on the show again. And I want to make sure that my listeners can find me as well, pleaseme.online. I'm available for health coaching, intimacy coaching, and physical therapy. And so check out my site. It's a plethora of education and information, all of the products that I love to use, like my favorite lubes and my favorite supplements that I take to give me energy. All of those things are on there. So take a look at my website. And if you're interested in nominating me for a Webby Award, the nominations are actually open right now. There are many different categories that are possible for me to be in as part of my show. And so I'm putting it out there into the universe because I would love to win or even be nominated for a Webby Award, which is, the highest honor that you can receive as a podcaster. And so again, Dr. Kennedy, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll definitely nominate you too, by the way.
Thank you. Yay. Until next time.
Okay, sounds good.
If you're feeling disconnected from your body, struggling with intimacy, or facing a sexual health condition, you're not alone. There is no shame in what you're experiencing, and you don't have to figure it out on your own. But the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to reclaim your confidence, pleasure, and connection. That's why I offer a free 15-minute discovery call to explore what's going on and whether working together is the right next step. Spots fill quickly, so don't wait. The link is in the show notes. Grab your time now.
I want to personally invite you to join me on Patreon for ad-free listening, bonus episodes, and early releases. Already there is a lot of bonus content on there with many webinars that I've done in the past and a show that I've never released to the public before. My show is completely self-funded, and when you are able to support me in this way, I'm able to spread my message of body positivity, self-love, and women's empowerment, and empowerment in general around sexuality around the globe. And so with that being said, I appreciate everyone who has already joined Patreon, and if you've thought about joining, now's your nudge to do so. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.